Yeah, hello, you're welcome to this webinar. Let's just call it a live stream video, right? And yes, so I've gone live, and then just as I titled the thing, it's just about AI in the level market, and I just want to briefly share with you. Um, Let me just give you an overview of what AI is as a factor of production, its implication, okay, for you as a worker out there, and also what it could actually do in the Nigerian markets. That's actually the purpose of this video today, this live stream. And let me quickly dive into what I have for you. Firstly, I'm going to present this. This is actually a mail from the CEO of what's it called? CEO of Fiverr. He said something like this to some of his colleagues of recent, and that's what I'm about to share with you now. Um, Let me get it. Okay, I'm going to get that as fast as possible. Okay, yeah, so we're good. Let me share. So let me share my screen now. Okay, present, share screen. So I believe you can see my screen now. So this is it. This is the CEO of Fiverr. Fiverr is actually a freelance market, job marketplace where the buyers of labor can actually come in, or you want some people to do something for you, can come in and pick someone to do something for you. And then also, if you have any skill you're offering, a service, you can actually go to Fiverr and list your service, like let's say, for example, graphic designing or the likes of it. So the CEO of this particular platform says something, say, hey team, I've always believed in radical candor, despise those who sugarcoat reality to avoid stating the unpleasant truth. The very basis for radical candor is care. You care enough about your friends, colleagues to tell them, okay, to tell them the truth because you want them to be able to understand it, grow, and succeed. So here is the unpleasant truth. AI is coming for your jobs. Heck, it's coming for my job too. So this is a wake-up call. Doesn't matter if you're a programmer, a designer, a product manager, a data scientist, a lawyer, a customer support rep, a salesperson, or a finance person, AI is coming for you. What he just mentioned are actually very, very top jobs right now. He mentioned lawyer, law, right? That's those in the legal profession. He also mentioned something like finance. He said maybe you're doing accountancy or something like that. And then there's also product manager who definitely is a manager of something. And then what's the next place now? Okay. So according to him, AI is coming for all those jobs we just mentioned right now, right? And then I think in the next part of it, let me get that part where he shared, he actually gave tips on how to go about things. So I will stop sharing now and then I'll get that part as well. Let me get that. Okay, good. So I'm going to share his approach now, what he shared right now. He said something. Okay. And okay, that's it now. He said, okay, are we all doomed? Not all of us, or those who will not wake up and understand the new reality fast, are unfortunately doomed. What can we do? First of all, take a moment and let this sink in. Okay, and then others, you don't say the study, research, master the latest AI solutions in your field, find the most knowledgeable person on our team who can help you become more familiar with the latest and greatest in AI. Time is the most valuable asset to have. If you are working like it's 2024, you are doing it wrong. You are expected to are needed to do more fast and okay, more efficiently now, become a prompt engineer, then get involved in making the organization more efficient using AI tools and technology. So that's just a wrap, okay, with what he shared. And I think there's a, yeah, so just as I said, okay, understand the company strategy. Stop waiting for the world or your place of work to hand you opportunities to learn and grow. Create those opportunities yourself. I vow to help anyone who wants to help themselves. And this man is actually a highly placed leader, and he was sharing all those things with his team. And I also don't want to go into details of okay, trying to go through all the tech layoffs I've come across, like big multinational companies. Even there's this one called Child Tech. They laid off some of their staffs of recent, right? Should it be earlier this year or late last year? Ask some staffs to go. And why are they doing that? For most persons, it's not because there's recession. No, rather it is because they are able to achieve a whole lot with just few technology, right? So what they need a whole lot of people to do, they can actually do that with a few number of persons. So welcome to this thing one more. So then I remember that sometime late last year, I was called up to okay, by a TV station actually to talk about AI and the dangers of AI. And in that particular talk show, which I'm going to give a link to it, I shared something actually. I said something about some tasks and jobs that can actually be easily replaced by AIs, right? Some of these AI tools, and why it is necessary for human beings to actually find things to do that cannot be done by AI. And from then to now, I know I've seen a whole lot of hysteria. There's panic online. There is panic on Facebook. Panic if you go to Twitter, LinkedIn. A whole lot of Nigerians are complaining. People outside the country are complaining. Nobody is left out. People are afraid, like, will AI take our jobs? Are we going to lose our jobs to AI? Are we going to become irrelevant? Will this piece of this technology make us redundant and all that? And at a time like this, I believe it is very necessary that we critically analyze this and get an overview of what we should do and actually have a better knowledge to face our fears, confront our fears with. I believe if you are not knowledgeable enough, you will not have enough to confront your fears. So that is the reason why I'm making this. So okay, also in addition to that, I would like to cite that many big tech company CEOs are already saying the same thing that the Fiverr man said, right? They kept saying, look, AI agents are out there. They have the likelihood of taking your jobs. Economists have gone through this, and they also have the same, similar forecast on definitely why AI is going to replace the jobs of many and displace them from their jobs and all that. It's out there. But how does that concern you? Both as maybe, I don't know what you are doing in your company right now, but either as a founder or as an employee, and as a founder slash employer or an employee, how does that concern you? And also, if you are, yeah, if you're an employee, okay, and also in your own sector, how does that concern you in your sector? If you're working in accountancy, in engineering, in whatever, I don't know what you're doing right now, but how does that concern you? I want to tell you more about that here. And also as a Nigerian, more particularly for Nigerians, and then the African markets, or let me just say West Africa as a whole, how does that concern us? So let me quickly, okay, go through my so I'm going to go through what I have right here, and it's just this. It says it's about AI in the labor market. So I'm going to break this thing down now. Now, from basic economics, we learned that there are actually four factors of production. One of them is land, another one is labor, another one is capital, and then entrepreneurship. Land is the physical land where you get to build a structure, and then labor, it has to do with human power, right? The humans are going to do the job, do the manual, do the repeatable jobs, carry out instructions, and see that whatever you want to produce are produced. Let me give an example of the bank. The bank employs people. Every staff in the bank are basically what? Employers, that's labor. And then there is also capital, which has to do with both the money and maybe that structure, the machines and all that, which you get to buy with money or some stuff. It's actually capital, right? And then there is the last factor of production, entrepreneurship, has to do with that creative individual that gets to see to it that everything in the company is running as supposed and then as planned, right? Those are the factors of production. But then all those factors of production have been undergoing certain changes. For some, there's not a digital dimension to things, and that's what we're going to break it down. So let me quickly talk about the land. If you notice of recent, it's not just enough to have your office or your company somewhere out there. It's also necessary for you to have a certain website address, right? So your website address and let's say all your social media handles make up your digital asset. That's like your own digital land where you stay, where you host your own company, and people can actually come there and see the services you are offering, get to make their complaints, interact with the tools, and even some of your stars through that. So the digital world gave us that. It was able to, let me say, kind of create something that's like a land, a digital land, right? A digital estate where you can put up your company and still do your service. And then also can actually talk about labor now. Now, labor has been undergoing changes. And why labor and entrepreneurship is very, very important is because those are actually those agents that has to do with humans, right? Labor has to do with humans. So if we go down to agriculture, labor was basically manual. You have to use your physical strength to cultivate the land. And then things became automated at a point. So we got things like tractors. And that means with tractors, we could actually do more with just a few human beings. So it's, I don't know if you understand it. So labor is undergoing change. And now in the age of AI, we're talking about machines that have the capacity to actually execute some tasks to near human level. Do you understand now? So it means that AI is actually what? A factor of production. So if we're counting factors of production, those are things you can actually bring in place while trying to produce goods or produce or render services. AI actually comes in place there, right? So if you want to really in some companies now, for example, those companies that actually laid off their staff. So I'm going to talk about Chowdeck. Chowdeck say that they are now able to do a whole lot of things that some of these employees could do in the past with some AI tools. It means that this AI tool can actually do execute all those tasks, and because of that, they don't need the labor anymore. So, what's this thing? Let's just understand that AI is a factor of production. Companies are now using AI to incorporating AI in the production process or maybe in rendering services. And it means that labor now has a different competition. We are no longer just competing with you are no longer competing with your smarter colleague or maybe a smarter guy out there that knows more things than you. You're actually also competing with AI. And this brings up that's actually the reason why I think job security is becoming, the level of job security is reducing for most people and in various sectors. Like job security has been affected, right? And the problem with this is you do not know if this particular skill or job you're targeting, you're scaling up for, if AI, you want the one AI tool will just come and somebody can pay for that to and replace all of you. Imagine that, years and all that. So, how do you approach this? First is the awareness. AI is a factor of production. We know AI has limitation, but let's just accept it's now a factor of production. Companies like Google, Microsoft, all of them are leveraging these tools and they're able to produce more with less humans. Let's let it down on us. And then, okay, so that's just it. So, the boss by tech leaders like, what's his name, the owner of NVIDIA, Google, it's real. AI can execute some tasks that human beings can in companies. The fears are there, but we need an approach. We need what to do. So, I will now go into discuss the effect of AI as a factor of production in the economy. That's the next thing I want to talk about now. There's a displacement effect. I mentioned something like that briefly. Yes, definitely when okay, for example, if a company is able to bring in buy some AI tools that can do a whole lot of things human beings will do, definitely they will need to cut down cost, lay off, restructure, do downsizing just to save. Companies want to make profit, and one of the ways of making profit is to do what? Cut cost. So can AI help us cut labor cost? Yes. So if they take up these AI tools, what will happen is that they're going to ask some people to go, and it's already happening, right? So that's the displacement effect of this AI, right? It's going to make some people go out of their job. But although we have this displacement effect, some economics and people that do research have actually researched, and they discovered that okay, there are actually other countervailing forces that we can put in place. Okay, that we can actually consider. Why we know that AI will definitely replace some people, but there are actually other things to put in place to study. One of them is a productivity effect. You bring in AI tools into production, into companies. Will it increase the productivity of that particular company, the productivity of the economy of that nation? And then, yes, will it increase the productivity? And by productivity, we mean the ability of that company or the nation to produce more, right? And gross domestic product. If they produce more and they're able to export more, definitely it should affect their GDP. So will having more AI affect our GDP? Is it really is it realistic? Okay, and then so I will tell you, is actually a general purpose technology. Some people made out time to study general purpose technologies like steam engine and the rest. And one of the things they notice is that one, a good number of them did not really increase the GDP of the economy where they were quite dominant at their early stage. It took a whole lot of time for other necessary things to be put in place before that general purpose technology had the capacity to increase productivity of the nation. That's being used to do tangible stuff, build more products that the country is maybe exporting and that can or selling to people in yes, the citizens, and then getting more revenue, generated revenue or something like that. It took a whole lot of time for some of those things to, okay, for that to happen for this general purpose technology. And then by general purpose technology, I mean technology that you can actually use to do a whole lot of stuff. For example, the steam engine that came up then, it was used both in a whole lot of sectors, not just in transportation, but also in power production, in manufacturing houses, in a whole lot of places. Electricity is a general purpose technology. You use it in your houses, in your companies, in banks, in a whole lot of, you could use electricity for a whole lot of stuff. So AI also is a general purpose technology, meaning you can actually use it for a whole lot of stuff as well. Next is capital accumulation as a countervailing force. Okay, so if people are able to do more, like cut down costs with AI, it means that the capital that will have been put into production will now be more, right? The employers of labor will have more capital at hand, and with that more capital, it means they will now be able to, okay, should I say, now create companies possibly that will now require the labor of all those humans that were displaced. So it means if we have AI, it will not really a big bad effect as we think. It might be good because there will now be more capital, and with that capital, these employers of labor can create more companies, and maybe some companies that will require human efforts, right? Let me give an example. For example, maybe if AI displays the job of many people, they might discover that, wow, I'm actually a very creative person. I can't just be a lawyer. Maybe there's a creative dimension in me, and this person will then maybe go into Nollywood industry and start working for Nollywood producers, or maybe discover he has a passion for fashion designing and then become a tailor and start making nice clothes. So this could be something. So we shouldn't just focus on the bad side of the displacement. It could actually mean something good. That's something to consider. Another one is um, this is another thing to consider is what I said earlier that AI might not just, it will need a whole lot of infrastructure and education to make it very, very relevant as a factor of production. So it means the displacement might not happen as we think now. It might take a whole lot of time before it gets to happen, right? And also it could mean good. For example, I heard of, and I know it's in existence, of actually a surgical a tool that can help doctors to perform surgery on patients, right? And it means they wouldn't need to involve a whole lot of things. So with that tool, doctors can actually perform operation on patients. I think there's this one that the person can perform a surgical operation on a patient remotely, right? And with if AI becomes that good, we're able to develop it more. If added to this technology, means at a point AI might be able to now perform surgical operations. I'm just saying that. So that means it is um, increasing the marginal gain this civilization can actually get from automation. So we might not need semi-automation where the human being is there and maybe the human being's mistake might then affect the automation. The whole process can be entirely automated and for the good of humans. Talk about automatic those is it vehicles, autonomous vehicles that can go on their own. They could actually reduce accidents and maybe do a whole lot of stuff. Do you understand? So it could deepen automation. That means as we instead of just putting our mind on the fears that AI will take our jobs, let's consider the good side that it could actually deepen automation and make us gain more from what we already have, right? And I cited an example about healthcare. Imagine we have shortage of doctors, say expert doctors in Africa, and we are able to, maybe make up for that with these automated let's say artificial intelligence powered robots, and they can do exactly or to a good extent what expert human doctors can do. It could be to our own advantage, right? So it's a good thing to consider. Then lastly, it's creation of that's the reinstatement effect. I spoke a little bit about that earlier, where I say that if AI gets to displace people's jobs, uh, people can now, when humans face hard times, they become very creative. So people can go ahead to create new sectors, right? Maybe the person is unemployed and the person gets to think and create a new sector. And that sector might be a sector that needs more human hands and no automation. For example, in the caregiving sector, it could be a game changer where many people would then go into the care sector and get to help people more. It might at the end affect the lifespan of human beings, right? Because in some countries now we know that there is less care for the elderly. Maybe there will now be that sector, right? The hospitality sector might get so rich with human beings to give more care to the elderly, more care to patients, something like that that we don't really need AI for. We don't really need AI to do caregiving, something like that. So those are like examples of tasks or activities where labor has a comparative advantage relative to machines. And I'm going to talk about that later in this session, in this webinar, where I will let you understand that the African economy has a very big that the informal sector in the African economy. Let me use Nigeria as a case study is like the bigger employer of labor. The informal sector employs men, and that informal sector doesn't really need, won't be easily automated due to the fact of how it is. For example, barbing, what's it called again? Let's yes, cutting people's heads, giving those kind of fashion related services, hair making, stuffs like that. It's definitely a zone where human labor is needed, right? So a good number of these geniuses from other sectors could move into that sector. I'm saying something like that, or become just get into that sector. And that sector could now become more rewarding, have what more pay, a higher pay. It means at that point, maybe to get a haircut, you would need to pay higher than you're paying right now because humans, I don't know, right? It might become so special, so revolutionary or something like that. So that's just it. And then, but I already said something about this displacement effect and then the countervailing forces. Next thing to really go down to discuss right here is how will this thing really, let's talk more about this unemployment thing, AI, automation, and then unemployment in another angle instead of just the displacement effect and then the countervailing forces. That's countervailing means things that can actually checkmate that. Can we go ahead and talk more about this? Like go a deep down. How does it relate to salary? How does it relate to wages? How does it relate to how is it gonna okay? What's unemployment going to be like, right? And let me say this: whenever many okay, in from Nigeria alone, millions of graduates go into the labor market. And now the labor market is now very competitive. I believe in the 80s, 70s, people that got education, if you receive education up to secondary school level or let's say university level, like you are so special. That the job market was not that competitive. But right now, a good number of individuals have that education. So humans now need, and not just in Nigeria, but in the world at large, humans now need more skills to be very relevant to today's world, not just literacy and numeracy. Okay, you might need to know how to code, how to do this to be a highly skilled laborer, right? A highly skilled worker, okay? And then that means at that point, these people, the recruiters in the labor market, might now deem you more worthy to be employed in a certain company, right? So now, if many people are then displaced, it means that there will be a growing population of the unemployed. So the labor market will now be more saturated. And the bad thing with that is we know, according to the law of demand and supply, when something is in excess, what happens? The the price of that thing gets to drop. So it means if humans, there are a whole lot of human beings out there that can do something, you can actually buy that particular service with just what a little amount of money, right? The wage has dropped. So I don't know the denomination of labor in your own economy, but let me just use a global value. So if this particular task is being done for, let's say, for example, $20 per hour, if there are a whole lot of people that can do that, the employers of labor might just be, okay, I just go ahead and say, can you guys do it for $10 per hour? If you say no, I have a tool, an AI tool that can do more, right? So if you can do this for $10 per hour, come in and work for us. And even if the $10 per hour will not be able to meet up with what you need to sustain your life, right? You might be forced to go ahead and take the job because maybe your whole training and all this is in this area, and that area is becoming heavily automated. You don't know what else to do. So there are a whole lot of people that want to do that, and there's also a machine you are competing with that can do it more. So you might end up now working for less, like get a lower wage for what you have trained for a long time to do, right? And that's one of these bad sides. That's just one of those bad sides. And that's part of the things we get to consider. Okay, and then what else do I have here to share with you? Let me quickly get it from my notes. Yeah. Okay. So I just mentioned that. No. Okay. And then I'm going to read this out. Now. It says, but while we consider that thing I painted now, we should also know that the magnitude of this disruption will depend on two important factors: the speed and the factor bias of the progress of AI. How fast is AI increasing, and the bias in AI? Remember, AI is dependent on data. Are we able to mitigate those bias faster? And I can assure you that the bias are being mitigated, right? And also the speed is going high. So definitely those things are coming up. And then another thing that could actually impede the future I painted now from happening to everybody in a certain sector is businesses also need to reorganize their systems to incorporate AI and more recent technologies. That's part of actually the hindrance things create. And this thing I mentioned now is actually a business idea for some people where companies are now being made to understand how to incorporate AI into their workflow. And by so doing, they will get to cut costs. And also training the workers in that particular company on how to make use of some AI tools and produce things faster. That's a business because it's a problem ongoing now. Some companies don't know how to incorporate AI. That's going to delay this particular thing I painted from happening. And then some people don't even know how to work with it. So no matter the profession you are in, that's why the Fiverr CEO said it's very, very necessary. You get to learn. If you are in designing, in the we call it people in the knowledge economy that has to do with your mind, using your mind to create, maybe to design, to code, to program, build a software, to maybe create something. If you're in that particular economy where it's classified among the knowledge economy to research, make art, all this kind of stuff. It is necessary to learn how to work with AI tools, to be honest, right? Because with time, businesses will now have just the way people adopted, companies adopted Excel and all these tools into their workflow. They are going to in future adopt all these AI tools, and they will need somebody that they will need training on how to adopt it, training on how to adopt those tools in a way that will not leak their data and all that. And also the human beings that can work with such tools. That's people that have the capacity to use AI tools and help these companies displace more laborers, right? And do I have a human being that can use AI and that human being will now be like 10 in 1? It means that with this human being, I can do what with this human being and AI, I'm able to do what 10 people will do. So companies want people like that. So if you read my initial post on YouTube where I said I'm going to tell you maybe sectors or how to go about things, now I'm already giving an idea on how to go about things. You need to learn these AI tools. If you're in that formal economy and you are doing any of those tasks I mentioned, like programming and all that, you need to learn the AI too. So you will be an ideal candidate that is an expert user, and companies are more likely to hire you, like maybe a Gen AI software engineer, Gen AI data scientist, Gen AI, generative AI data analyst, and all that. They're more willing to hire you, okay, so that with you, they can actually do what 10 people can do in their workflow, and you can actually help them to make the workflow more robust, more efficient, and all that. So that is it. And then, but back to how this really affects people's wages. Definitely, that scenario I painted that is a scenario we really have to work towards becoming better and avoiding, where people are really displaced, and then technology. So because of that, people are forced to is it to work right below, maybe even below a minimum wage. So and that's if you are watching this video and you really fall among people we call the regulators, say government personnel and all that, it is very necessary that okay, you those things are considered while drafting policies that affect human beings. Yeah, work and all that. So why am I saying this? The whole world now, it's like it's filled with there are two basic agents, right? Human agents in the world. Those are like the innovators, right? Those that bring the thing, like the man that brought Google, the man that brought Facebook. You see, they're like the innovators, right? People that brought solar and all that. And then we have the workers. The workers all range from the CEO managing the business, the managers, down to the low grade or low skilled laborers. Those are the workers. So we have two people. And I before coming to this video, I reviewed some economic theories and all that. And then I really saw this design, even why there is a minimum wage. It is because of this. If we have a very perfect market, and let's say if the society is operated as a perfect market, it means that if innovators are able to accumulate wealth, the wealth that's excess wealth that comes up, right, like the capital, should now be redistributed maybe more equally among everybody in a way that even if there is more innovation, right, we won't be scared because we know that even let me say for example if I'm a worker and my partner there is an innovator or my colleague my childhood friend brings a big software and makes a whole lot of money, right? I'm not afraid of that. I'm going to support that innovation because I'm very sure that uh, the excesses will be redistributed. It's for every one of us, but it doesn't happen. That redistribution is not done exactly as we think. For in very good or developed nations, I know there is something like tax, where the billionaires, the millionaires pay tax, and those taxes are redistributed to create charities, maybe give subsidized education, subsidized energy for those that do not have so much. And that is just that such system is not available in every nation, right? Maybe you could find that in some developed countries, maybe somewhere like Finland, or okay, I know it's in the US and some places like that, but at the end, if you're not careful, you might not really get as much as for your survival. You understand? So I'm trying to say that the market is not perfect. So that is why we are scared of this technology. If it gets to grow big, it means that those that offer these things, right? The person that builds the software, that builds that AI tool, you accumulate so much money. They are doing that already. Why another guy out there is struggling to survive? So these things, the fear is that it's going to create so much inequality in standards of living, inequality in a whole lot of stuff, right? Inequality in, yes. So some people will be so rich, accumulate so much wealth, while others are struggling because of AI or because of automation. Yeah, and even those, okay, let me just continue. So the innovators will earn a surplus, and those surplus are usually in excess of the cost of bringing those innovation. And market is not perfect. So for regulators, it might be good to put this in mind, right? Create more policies that should things like this happen, how is it going to be possible to redistribute the excess or a greater percentage of this excess so that the inequality gap will not be so wide in societies? Okay. Another thing to I'm going to share here is that okay, so yeah, those innovators definitely bring up what we call worker replacing technologies, right? Yes, and those things, the worker replacing technology, are also capital saving, right? So if I want to employ 20 laborers to work for me, this with the worker replacing technologies, I will just buy the software and then I might not need to employ 20 laborers. So it saves me more capital, right? And if it saves more capital um, for the employers of labor, that's progress. And then we might now have, say, and if maybe those tools are intelligent assisting tools and not to replace humans, right? It means the humans will be able to finish up their task at work and then have more time, maybe to spend with their family or to do other creative things, other innovative stuff, right? Another thing to consider. Okay, and then so having said this thing, I want now to I have painted a whole lot of images in your mind. So what I want to do now um, is to break things down and then give wrap everything up. If this was an interactive session, I might have tried to get input from you and we talk about these things and where to classify things better. But let me just quickly share a whole lot of things, like try to use it, give it direction and share things. And okay, apart from just painting images, just give out things how it should be. Okay, so this is it. Number one is this. I want to talk of for employees now, the laborers, right? I mentioned that the agent in production that involves human beings is that either you are the entrepreneur, the entrepreneur, let's say the founder, the innovator, or you're actually a worker, whether you're working at the top level, management level as the CEO, and you are not the owner of the company, you are working as a CEO, or down to laborer, you are a worker. It's good, right? I'm also a worker. So you're a worker right there. So I want to say, so in this age of AI, where AI is a factor of production, what should workers do? What should you do? Like, how should you take on these things? What is the next thing for you? What is the knowledge you need? And for a Nigerian, if you're in Nigeria or say West Africa as a worker, what should you have in mind every single day? That's what I want to say now. And after work employers, I'm going to talk about after employees. I will talk about employers of labor as well and say a thing or two about that. And then I'm going to talk about some things that we can look forward to. So yeah, so for employees, for laborers now, this good thing to note. The low entry jobs, okay, let me say jobs that demand low entry. That's low skilled work in the knowledge economy. has already, should I say, it has already been replaced to a great extent or is about to be replaced in this economy because of AI. And I'll give an example and other automations too. If say for example you are an executive assistant and your job as executive assistant is maybe to get tell your boss about emails, and do those things and all that and all this, some of those work. There's actually a tool that can carry out all those tasks. So pause now and think about your current job. What is the task that you are being paid for? Forget about the title of your job, executive assistant, clerical this, all that, or HR manager. I don't know what you're doing, but I don't care about the title. Ask yourself, what is that task you're doing now at your place of work? Now, that particular task, how easy is it to be done? Is there a laid down process on how to do it? Yes. If there's a laid out process of doing it and all that, just know that an AI piece there can actually be fed with that data and is going to be able to replace you or assist somebody to do more, right? So if maybe at the end we still need a human being face to be there, it means that this person will be able to handle maybe all the chains of maybe all the companies under this particular organization, and that means there will be a need for few people. So how do you gain a comparative advantage in the labor market at this point? It means you need to be that person that knows how to use the tool to replace others. That is one. So it's that reality we need to do. So tell yourself the task, and while you are at it, try to, should I say, build a moat around that your task. Like do things more in a more novel way. Look for maybe say other challenges companies are having now and try to offer services to them. Okay, fill those, solve those challenges and make the money. Don't just relax on your title, right? Focus on that task. Is the task so complex that AIs cannot just do this? If yes, uh, uh, focus on that. Like do things like if you're a software developer now, it means that if it's just to write piece of code like junior software developer role, there's a problem, right? There's a problem. The person talents that are going to thrive in the economy are those that are quite exceptional, highly skilled workers in what they are doing. So if it's a developer, it's a highly skilled developer that is able to do more. If the person is a designer, a highly skilled designer that can do more than somebody can just write a prompt and get, means you can do more. You are highly skilled. Or maybe you're a superstar in that thing you're doing, like people they call prodigies and all that. You're a superstar, like software or developer that built an app that gave millions of. Okay, that's the kind of thing they're going to try in that sector. In let's say in this in tasks that has to do with knowledge work, right? You just need to be a superstar or highly skilled. If not, you're already competing with tools and yes, automation tools, AI that can replace you, just kill the job. AI is people are now using AI to do what people do in some legal firms, maybe try to research on case laws and all that. In the past, that's what some lawyers do in law chambers, right? But there's an AI tool now that can get all the case file, constitution of the economy, and all that, and help the owner of the chamber or the senior advocates to prepare a case for court. So why does this particular owner of the chamber need to hire so much lawyers to work if he or she can actually do that with AI tools? I don't know if you get my point. So what is this tax or what are the tasks you are doing at your place of work? How complex are they? If they are not so complex, leave that. It means you can be laid off. Once there is a tool the owner of your employer can use to replace you, they might be forced, if you people are 100, they might be forced to ask 90 to go and keep 10 while they test the software, while they use input from the 10 to train that AI to, that custom AI to work for them. And after a long time, they can ask the 10 to go, maybe 9 to go, and one will remain with the two to work for them. So it's a problem, right? And it's the harsh reality is the truth. So I've already said the solution to this now, right? Try to focus on more complex tasks, tasks that cannot be done immediately. Those are the tasks to focus on. Tasks that are quite complex and more difficult. If it's just cleaning data for data analysis, can you do more? Can you build more? Can you use AI tools to do end-to-end pipeline? Do both data ingestion and all that. You're able to do a whole lot. You stand a chance at that point, and then that's it. So yeah. Okay. So and this is it. Why this is a harsh reality is because if there are many people that can do something, there is unemployment. A lot of people have been laid off. Wages are going to drop. If in the past people pay $50,000 per hour to get that particular task done, when there are a whole lot of people that can do it, they can relax and pay $10 per hour for that. I already said something about that earlier. Yeah, so there's going to be this lower marginal product of workers, right? Yeah. And if wages decline below the cost of living, it means some people will fight poor, while some others are rich. So, and then another thing to note is that if these things go the way it is, I'm talking about employers now, jobs can be replaced at a faster rate than workers can find new ones. So if more people are being laid off, than okay easily laid off, and it's more difficult to find a new job, like find a new sector to gain a skill and become better there. People are being laid off and know that at that point, if jobs can be replaced at a faster rate than workers find new ones, there'll be massive unemployment. When there's massive unemployment, there's fear out there. People become poor, standard of living will reduce for some, things become high, and those that have more money will make more money from those that have less, right? So you have to avoid that. I have to avoid that as well. So okay, that's it. So and what the government can do, maybe let's say I'm talking about workers now, right? Okay, let me say this before I move to the government and then employers. Okay, so next is this. Okay, good. I already captured that. There's this biological theory where we know that they said it's not the, I think is it Charles Darwin that said it's not the strongest species that actually thrive, right? It's actually those that are able to change, they're able to evolve. So we have adverse selection. It's like a survival of the fittest, and the fittest are not the strongest. It is those that are able to adapt to change. So how fast are you able to adapt to change? I mean, sacrificing time now to learn a new skill in a different sector or move, transition to fields uh, where humans work more. There are tasks like that where humans have a comparative advantage over AI. Maybe like in caregiving or doing some stuff in maybe in some companies, or actually there are some sectors where AI adoption is quite low. Maybe you need to go to those sectors. There are other industries where AI adoption is low, right? Maybe due to the how sensitive things are in those industries. Maybe you will need to migrate to them. For example, there's low AI adoption in maybe so for example in petroleum industry, AI is not really being adopted in a way that is going to replace human beings. Maybe humans that will drill, do the oil well, all that, and maybe going to some industries and going to the informal sector where you now provide services as a business owner or something like that. Those sectors are places where AI there's low adoption and AI will not really knock out a whole lot of people. So, so is it? And what I'm saying is because we know that innovation weakens the market power of workers. If there are tools that can do what you are doing, your market power reduces, right? So you need to know we are in the survival of the fittest and try to be the best. So, but while we're at this, let's also know that um, there is no fixed number of jobs. Jobs can be created. So it's not as if all these people are, if people are laid out from companies, jobs have ended. No. What makes up a job? It's just there is a task and maybe there's a reward for that task. That's what constitutes a job, right? So Why is this thing a job? Why are you even employed at a point? It's because somebody wants someone to do this for them. Why they go do something else, or they want someone to use their intelligence to do this for them to maybe produce money. So is every job someone is doing is not necessarily to maybe produce money. It could be to render service, and we have a more service economy now. So yes, so jobs can be created. This thing could actually mean well for us. So while you are now begin to think like, what are the possible jobs that could come out? Since we have a service economy, how can we make services better? And if you can get an idea how to make services better, you might begin to offer those services better, either as an employer or as a business person, and have a leverage. So is it so? Though these things are happening and we are painting the bad scenario as an employee rather, just know that the number of jobs are not fixed. It's not as if we have 1 million jobs. Jobs can be created. A new sector can come up now and something begins to happen there. Let me give an example. In the past, I don't think in Nigeria, if you're Nigerian now, I don't think we had like what do I call them? Like people that is it courier drivers that drive Okada, that's motorcycle and dispatch riders. We never had that. Let's say in year 2000. Now we have a whole lot of dispatch riders now. It's now like the logistic business. Is it doorstep delivery? People are going to getting bags and delivering stuff. So I'm just talking about that. This a job has been created. That's not the job you want. For some of you, for knowledge workers, you went to school, you are quite educated. So what was it? I'm just saying jobs are created, right? So there's a new sector that's going to come up. Technology sometimes creates new sector. Now we have people doing AI training that help to train AI for companies to kind of put in the prompts, get the answers, make the corrections. That's a new job being born, right? And it's same in different areas. Like every single problem that comes up, right, that needs to be solved, might need a human being to solve it, either human being or capital. And capital could be an AI tool or a machine. That's capital, right? So it could either be done by labor, that's human labor or capital. So jobs can be created and if human labor got a comparative advantage there, that job is safe. So new jobs will come up. Jobs will not finish. The scenario where we see our when we mention AI, we see a whole lot of youth, people unemployed, roaming the streets and all that. Well, if jobs are being replaced faster than new ones are created, or people can find new ones, right? That reality might stay for a while. But definitely at that point, things could come up that will now need maybe sectors where humans have a comparative advantage will start booming and humans will flow into that area. And humans can still do those things and get rewarded decently. But the thing is, for you to go into some of those sectors, you might need to what? Be trained when machines came up, like when tractors came, people got to learn how to use tractors, a training to use that too. So how fast are you able to get money to pay for the next training to become relevant there? So it means as an employee, right, you also need to have cash stashed for what? Emergency education. So in case you something's up, is either you're using the money you have saved up to open a new business and start from the insight you've gained, or you're going to use that particular money to get training in a new sector as fast as possible, pay for that training and start working there before others come in. So that by being the first to enter, you will now have an advantage there. So, or another thing is you can also use your money to own a non-reproducible complementary factor of production. What are examples of this non-reproducible? When I say something is reproducible, um, we can actually train more humans to do something. That particular knowledge is reproducible. I can use a piece of software to carry tasks over and over and over again, and a whole lot of people can download that app. That's one good thing with digital world. You can write one code, create an app, and 1 million people can download that app. One app, one code will create 1 million apps in people's phones. And if I do one edit in this one code, it's going to be reflected in the 1 million apps. So that's reproducible. But there are some factors of production that are non-reproducible. For example, land as a factor of production is non-reproducible, right? So we cannot increase more land, like land fixed. So if you own a piece of these scarce things, scarce factor of production like land, it might be an advantage, or things like, I don't know, like just own a non-reproducible factor of production. Another thing is to gain knowledge, and that's if you're a worker, and then try to patent your knowledge or get something copyrighted that you can sell to more people and make a living out of it. That's it. I'm just saying all that now. And then if you're Nigerian economy, I do not believe AI will really create what you have in mind, where many people are unemployed. Why is that? It's because we have an informal economy, a very strong one in Nigeria. Like the informal economy, the informal sector, it's, I think it's over 65% of the Nigerian economy. Yes, and it employs more people. When I talk about the informal sector, I mentioned dispatch riders, people that make hair, people that cut hair, things like that. Those that offer services at home, traders in the markets, right? Traders in the market, all those markets, Alaba market, this market, people are out there. You can't. Do we really see a future where in the next 20 years we come to the market and it's robots selling food? Going and buying the meat and cutting the meat and cutting the vegetables. That future is not here in Nigeria. So there is a big informal sector, and the informal sector is actually the sector that employs a greater number of our teeming population of youths. To be very honest, because uh, jobs here are not like jobs for everyone is not out that much yet, and that's it. So it's is it. So why am I saying that? That reality, it's not really for all Nigerians. It's just for those in the formal sector, those that are working in where knowledge is needed. Like people using their what you study something in school and you're working in the formal sector, the white collar jobs. They are the ones that are against AI. And even if you should decide to move, why what I'm teaching now, what I'm sharing now, though it sounds, I don't know how it is to you, but why I believe it's very important is because even if you move now to economies like Canada, America, and all that, they are going to be facing that reality I painted, where it is possible for these tools to replace more humans. And if you are not a citizen there, right? You'll be moved to their own informal sector. You will not really be doing what you want to do. And if more people are trooping to their informal sector, maybe aliens, as they call them, people that migrated there are being pushed to that sector, and even citizens are finding it difficult. At a point, they might decide to employ citizens in those informal sector before non-citizens, aliens. And even if resources are being redistributed, like tax money, like tax, right, from these big companies, like maybe get money from Google. Google, you're accumulating so much money with this too. Pay us, right, and all that. It might not get to you because you are not a citizen yet. That's the harsh reality. You see, right? So if you're working in the formal sector, do not take those things for granted. Like you need an edge. Whether you want to leave Nigeria to those sectors, you are leaving to a developed nation. And development happens faster there. And you might end up not working in the formal sector, but in the informal sector. And even that place might become so saturated, competitive, that citizens that are low skilled laborers, low skilled workers will now have will be preferred above you. It's the harsh reality. So that's it. So I think I've said that about the informal sector. And if you want to know more about the informal sector, a breakdown, like get my notes, break down, that you read it, and while you watch this video, you understand. You just have to join t.me/blueprint talk. I'm going to try to share these resources there so you can see a compilation of my study, get to learn more about it, and all that. So that's it. So let me talk about the government. So I don't know if maybe somebody from Nigerian government or West African government will get to watch this video anytime in this life, but it is good that we begin to talk about how can we actually should these things happen, what are the things we are going to system we're going to put in place to take care of people working in the formal sector? Are we going to start, selling insurance to workers, or maybe creating a system that closes the inequality gap? The inequality gap in developing nations like Nigeria and some, it's so high. You get to see a few very rich and multitudes out there that are not really surviving properly, like they are below standards of living. So how do we try to redistribute resources in a way we know we cannot really close the inequality gap, but in a way that at least the survival rate will increase. People will not just be crushed, and people will still, be interested in getting education to work in formal sector, and not just, just going to the informal sector due to apathy and all that. Or so it is necessary to begin to bring up policies, okay, and measures of seeing that if it's possible to get more tax, maybe to fund education that will train more skilled laborers or skilled workers for the new economy, the evolving economy, this dynamic job market that we have. Okay. And I cannot really say something, a good thing about Nigerian government that try in a way through platforms like NITDA and 3MMT, trying to train people in AI and all that. Those that have AI knowledge, machine learning knowledge. And it is true, if you have knowledge of building AI tools, you will really, really be paid more since it is a booming sector. Maybe blockchain, they're really training youths on that. But the problem still is that the tasks you're learning, the entry level part in machine learning development now, software development, can be done by tools like Kuso. So we need a faster rate of doing those things. We need to do it faster. Yes, we need to do these things faster. That they have that if that these programs are bringing more youth that has the knowledge, doesn't really guarantee they're going to make something like gain financial independence or anything from those skills. It's not a guarantee. We need another education on how to really make do with the knowledge we have. Yeah, and now I want to wrap whole thing up with for employers of labor, and anybody can listen now because as an employee now you might become an employer of labor. So this is how employers of labor think. Employers of labor think of they bring the capital. Maybe the person has the capital and the knowledge to build. So they bring the capital and use the capital to get the land, and use the capital to get the that rent the office, right? Or maybe buy the machines and then employ humans to work. And for every employer of labor, the founders, they can make more profit by either cutting down the cost of production. That's how they make more profit, by cutting down the cost of production, or by selling their product at a higher price, or yes, at a higher price. Sometimes you can even hear things of like artificial scarcity, where people try to make their products scarce so it will have more value. So these employers of labor needs to they need to cut down costs, and even when they are good intentioned, harsh realities like COVID that came up then, harsh realities like pandemic, right? Not really COVID now, but like recession rather, can actually force the employers of labor to go extra miles. So imagine if something worse than COVID befalls the world many decades from now, and maybe humans are not moving again or something. Definitely, they're going to rely on AI tools to do more, right? I'm sharing as from an employer of labor, and I think other employers of labor will get what I'm saying. And then also, if there is a recession where the economy is so unbalanced, as an employer of labor, you need to make more. You might need forcefully to let go of some staffs. You are forced at that point to let go of some staffs and then adopt an AI tool to do what they can do so that you can still make more profit. That's if maybe the market is saturated and you don't really want to compete much, you just want to cut down cost. That could happen at that point. So, right now, it is good to prepare for such harsh realities, right? And the necessary thing is to get this thing. One is to get knowledge of tools that you can actually use to accomplish tasks because every human labor, every human worker coming into your firm, your company, is there to perform a set of tasks. And there are actually some tasks where capital, which in this case is either the machines or these AI tools, got a comparative advantage over humans. Number one, these AI tools, they don't get tired, right? Unless something happens to the server or something like that, the AI tools can work non-stop for life. So there are actually tasks, some tasks where AI tools are got this comparative advantage over humans. So trying to know the best tool for such tasks is one. That's for those that want to incorporate AI into their workflow. It is a good time to go through your workflow and get those tasks. And you can actually bring out the tasks for AI tools one side and then push humans to focus more on tasks where human creativity has a comparative advantage over AI. Maybe like customer service, attending to people, relating with them on hospitals where nurses are treating patients. It is necessary to do that kind of reorganization. Like take tasks for humans one side, tasks for AI one side, and that could be a more balanced thing to do. So another one is the other thing I'm going to say is about this thing. Some place of like that's it. Another one is to okay, no, create more training ground to train workers, okay, on how to leverage these tools so that you can definitely let go of some staff. Should anything happen, some staffs that have the training should be there, right? Like your elite staff, so that should things happen, maybe you want to really downsize, you have those that can take up those tools and do more for you. Then also for business people, what I've shared now, you can see that there are actually problems that need solutions. Training companies to have knowledge of how to incorporate AI into their workflow and set up the whole system and all that. It's something to go into. Or maybe training people to work in this new economy is also what a business opportunity. It's a business opportunity, or even offering a tool for some. When we talk about business, and maybe in Nigeria, some focus so much on business in the informal sector. But in this thing I mentioned, it's possible to get people to develop this particular tool, and that tool will be out there and making more money for you. Is the truth. A tool you can pay a developer to develop this tool, they'll create this thing, and whoever using the tool is paying you, and you're okay. In the past, that's what people they call SaaS founders did. That's software as a service. But now we are in the age of AI. It could be AI agent as a service. So you can actually become an AI agent as a service founder and make so much profit from that. So that is what I have to say in this video. If you have any question, you can actually ask me a question through the Telegram. There's a Telegram channel, right? And then you can chat me up, and I'll give a link to my LinkedIn. I'll put it to my bio, so you can always contact me via LinkedIn. I think it's right there in my banner. You can reach out to me via LinkedIn, send me that connection request, let's talk. And then also, if this is a helpful video, go ahead and share it. If there's something else you need to know about those things, reach out to me on LinkedIn, share, subscribe is important, and send it to somebody out there. Thank you so much, and see you in the next Blueprint Talk. Jesus.